Most Americans retire at 65, but there's a hidden danger that nobody warns you about, and it could silently rob you of everything you spent your entire life working for. If you're watching this, you're probably thinking about retirement, planning for it, or maybe you're already there. And like most people, you've probably assumed that 65 is just the finish line. The age when you finally get to kick back, travel, spend time with the grandkids, and enjoy the fruits of decades of hard work. But what if 65 is actually too late? Not because of anything to do with money, but because of something far more personal. We're going to get into exactly what that is in just a moment, and it's going to change how you think about retirement forever. But first, let's look at what retirement actually looks like in America right now, because the picture might surprise you. According to Gallup data collected between 2016 and 2022, only 1% of Americans retire between the ages of 40 and 44. Another 2% retire between 45 and 49. Between 50 and 54, that number climbs to just 6%, and many of those people didn't choose to retire early. They were forced into it by layoffs, health issues, or circumstances outside their control. Between 55 and 59, only 11% of Americans are retired, and that number has actually dropped significantly from nearly 20% back in 2007. Between 60 and 64, about 32% of Americans are retired, down from 41% just a decade and a half ago. And here's the part that really stops people in their tracks. Almost a third of all Americans between 65 and 69 are still working, at an age when most of us assumed we'd be living our best lives. And then there's this. 17% of Americans between 70 and 74 are still working, and 12% of Americans 75 and older are still clocking in somewhere. Now, some of those people genuinely love what they do, and that's wonderful. But for many, the reality is that they simply haven't been able to stop. They don't have the financial freedom to walk away. And that is a problem worth talking about seriously. So we're retiring later and later as a country. You might think, okay, fine, work a little longer. What's the big deal? Here's the big deal. And this is the hidden danger mentioned at the top. Stay with me, because this is the part that changes everything. The World Health Organization collects health data from countries all over the world, and one of the things they track is something called healthy life expectancy. That's not how long you're expected to live. It's how long you're expected to live in good health before serious illness or physical decline sets in. And a researcher named Jeff Nobbs took that data and turned it into something we can all understand at a glance. Here's what the numbers look like. Japan leads the world with a healthy life expectancy of 74.1 years. Singapore comes in at 73.6. Korea is at 73.1. Switzerland is 72.5. Cyprus and Israel are both at 72.4. Spain and France are at 72.1. Iceland is at 72. Italy is at 71.9. And then there's the United States. The healthy life expectancy in the United States is just 66.1 years. Let that sink in for a second. The average American retires at 65. The average American loses their health at 66. That is 13 months. 13 months between the day you stop working and the day your health begins to seriously decline. 13 months to do all the things you've been putting off. All the travel, all the adventures, all the time with family, all the bucket list experiences you told yourself you'd get to when you retire. Now, these are averages. This doesn't mean you personally will lose your health at 66. Some people stay vibrant and active well into their 80s and beyond. But some people don't make it to 66 in good health at all. And the question you have to ask yourself is, are you willing to bet your dreams on the hope that you'll be one of the lucky ones? Or does it make more sense to plan as if these averages might apply to you and build your life accordingly. Now here's something worth coming back to a little later. Something that determines 90% of your success as an investor. Most people have no idea what it is. They think it's about picking the right stocks, timing the market, finding the hot investment of the moment. But they're wrong. And once you understand what it actually is, it's going to completely shift how you think about building your wealth. We'll get there. But first, let's talk about what you can actually do with this information. Because there are really two major areas where you can take control: your health and your finances. And both of them matter enormously. Let's start with health, because it's the foundation of everything else. No amount of money compensates for being sick, immobile, or in chronic pain during what should be your golden years. So before we even talk about money, the single most important investment you can make is in your own health. What does that look like practically? 3 things. Number 1, eat well. That sounds simple, but it's harder than it sounds in a country where fast food is cheap, convenient, and everywhere. The cost of poor nutrition is paid later, and it's paid in your health. Investing in quality food is investing in your future self. Number 2, do something cardiovascular a few times a week. You don't have to run marathons or become an athlete. Walking, cycling, swimming, whatever you enjoy. Getting your heart rate up consistently makes a measurable difference in how long you stay healthy and independent. And number 3, maintain your muscle mass. This one is underrated and often overlooked, especially as we get older. Muscle mass is directly connected to longevity, mobility, and independence. A little strength training goes a very long way. Now let's talk about the financial side. And here's where it helps to think seriously about a question that might feel uncomfortable. What would it actually take for you to retire at 55 instead of 65? Not because everyone can do it, but because when you sit down and map it out with a clear plan, the gap between where you are and where you need to be is often smaller than most people expect. Building real wealth comes down to a few simple principles. They're not always easy, but they work. The first and most important one is this: spend less than you earn, save the difference, and invest it. That's the whole game. But here's the sobering reality. More than half of all Americans earning over $100,000 a year save nothing. Zero. A great income means very little if everything goes right back out the door. Living below your means, consistently, over time, is the foundation that everything else is built on. And saving alone isn't enough. That money has to be put to work through investing. Beyond that, keeping life simple financially makes an enormous difference. Every major financial obligation, a second home, a complicated lifestyle, significant debt, pulls money away from the future you're trying to build. The people who retire early and comfortably aren't always the ones who earn the most. They're usually the ones who made deliberate, consistent choices about where their money went. Now, let's get back to that one thing mentioned earlier, the factor that determines 90% of your success as an investor. Here it is. It's your asset allocation. That's the percentage of your portfolio in stocks versus bonds and other investments. Not the individual stocks you pick. Not whether you got into the right company at the right time. Multiple studies have confirmed it. Asset allocation accounts for roughly 90% of long-term investment performance. And yet most people believe that stock picking is what drives results. They're almost exactly backwards. Why does this matter so much? Because getting your asset allocation right isn't just about chasing returns. It's about managing risk in a way that matches your real emotional tolerance, not just what you think it is. It's easy to say you can handle a market downturn when things are going well. It's a very different experience when the market falls 30, 40, or 50%, and that's your entire retirement sitting on the screen in front of you. As recently as the 2008 financial crisis, the S&P 500 fell 60% from top to bottom. 60%. People who believed they were comfortable with risk suddenly found out they weren't. But by then, the damage was already done. Understanding your own risk tolerance, building a portfolio that reflects it, and having the discipline to stay the course when markets get scary, that's what separates the people who come out ahead from the ones who don't. It's not glamorous. It doesn't make for exciting conversation. But it works. So let's bring all of this together, because here's what really matters. When you turn 60 years old, you have, on average, fewer than 1,000 weeks of healthy, active life ahead of you. 1,000 weeks. That sounds like a lot until you start counting. It's less than 20 years, and it will go faster than you think. Every week that passes without a clear plan is a week you can't get back. This isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to give you the urgency that this moment genuinely deserves. Because the people who retire on their own terms, who travel when they still have the energy, who spend time with the people they love while they're fully present and alive to the experience, those people didn't stumble into that life. They planned for it. They made deliberate choices, year after year, that pointed them in the right direction. Take an honest look at your own health. Look at your family history. Think about what you know about your own body and how you've been treating it. And then look at your finances with the same honesty. Not to judge where you are, but to understand what steps will get you where you want to be. Whether you end up with 500 healthy, active weeks ahead of you or 2,000, the question that will matter most when you look back is a simple one. Did I use that time with intention? Did I do the things that mattered to me? Did I take care of my health, manage my money wisely, and actually live the life I worked so hard to build? You still have time to make that happen, but the best time to start is right now.